Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is really to go into a little bit more in depth with what they are dealing with, and that is just being gaslighted. When you are being gaslighted, you're basically being told that how you feel is not valid. It is not accurate. It is off the charts. It's not within the range of discussion. It's not in the realm or the arena of what is going to be put out on the table. It is not a shiny and bright, uh, you know, um, just sort of what's the word that I'm looking for? It's just not sort of a lighthouse. You kind of feel that, you're bringing in your open and your feelings into something or interjecting or having an opinion, but that is going to gets like smashed down to the floor by a narcissist, especially who is someone who is dealing with a pathological sense of self-importance and coupled with a lack of empathy. So it's the pathological sense of self-importance that really creates this sort of very superficial, although high level or oftentimes high energy, high charm level of being in a relationship. So the gaslighting is basically meaning that when you bring something to the table that's valid, relevant, meaningful, pertains to you in the relationship, something that's not out of line, and they just sort of knock it out of the park like, we're not talking about that now. And or it's always allocated to later, and later never comes. It really hits just like the procrastination checklist. It's not there, like, on their right under their paperweight. Yes, like, we're going to address this now. So the problem, I think, for a lot of our viewers is sort of their own authenticity is sort of being met with resistance and falling on sort of superficial pushback or deaf ears. And oftentimes there has to be that wiggle room of boundaries. But when you're being gaslighted, you're not being validated at all you're not even being attempted to being related to. It's a completely off balance situation. And you oftentimes feel guilty, wrong, fearful, for having any sort of self-preservation. It seems to be like, what is this? Why is this throwing everybody off? And you really need to understand, I would say, to kind of come to grips with gaslighting. Realize how superficial it is. And oftentimes it's a pattern or a tactic or a way for somebody to sort of throw off your own inner beacon. So I think that's why it hurts so much, is because you really do have like your own inner siren, your own inner beacon, your own inner like detector system that really sort of like goes up and starts to like amp up the volume or amp up the fear when you're not being validated. So if you're not being validated and recognized, your core nervous system receives it as an attack. So you really have to begin to understand a little bit about your own physicality. So this is on the healing that we're talking about, I think, from gaslighting, needs to really sort of pop out and realize that it's not on a cerebral level where a lot of people are having the trouble because the gaslighting is saying like, wherever you're coming from, it is coming from nowhere on the radar. In fact, if we can, we're just going to really fog up and like really, storm out your own radar system so you can't even track where your location is at on the radar. You're just sort of, you're bleeped off their radar as if you're like a battleship that's sort of coming into view and they just go, wait, we can't see you, wait, we can't see you, bleep, and then you just sort of feel that you have been underappreciated, under recognized, not listened to, not given credit where credit is due. Oftentimes, there's a lot of things that those people who have been gaslighted have done, particularly been vulnerable, open, honest, trustworthy, there in, hard times, there when they were needed, not when always wanted, but they were there when they were needed. And your sort of your deep feeling or your deep authenticity mode is sort of been switched on, like don't recognize yourself. So it's almost like, to me, the way I equate it is it's as if your body almost begins to act like one of those immune system issues where it begins to sort of attack itself or become very agitated. And this can become very uncomfortable when you're being gaslighted, because you kind of feel like that there's no two-way vent system, which is a normal, healthy, human emotive thing to be, do, and have in your life. Because if you're isolated from this, studies have shown that sort of like being in isolation and not being able to have really communication, where you're sort of being shut out or shut off, it can be very hazardous to your health. I mean, as health hazardous as like smoking or drinking excessively. So you have to really get the physical health issues of this. And so looking back at realizing oftentimes what the gaslighting is about, they're trying, it's back to that movie of gaslighting. It's like the lights are flickering in the movie, and the lights aren't flickering, they're no, just the lights are glowing fine, and it's just like, no, but the lights are flickering, and it's just like she's like losing her perception and sense of reality. And then it becomes very terrorizing. Let's put it that way. It becomes very disorienting when you're being gaslighted. So it's very, very painful, difficult, disorienting, dissociative, all these very, and it can be very nauseating. It really, really can. It can be so overboard too, that you can really feel that you can't rein it in. In other words, the dog is so far off the leash, or it's so far off of where you're feeling heard, your megaphone just ain't reaching, and that it just feels oftentimes that it just is like you're losing sense of being able to communicate, especially maybe with people who you care about, or all these sort of things. So there is this importance, I think, of understanding that is oftentimes on a very superficial level or very objective physical level. So when we talk about what the narcissist is often being triggered for and gaslighting for, is because it's usually, in my mind's eye, it's kind of like a decoy or a camouflage to cover up something that they don't want you to see. So if they're pathologically, have a pathological sense of self-importance, which means it's their way or the highway. They're all about the charm, the thrill, the one-way direction, and everything else is vanquished or like not accountable for. So it can lose a sense of depth. In other words, oftentimes what they want is something very superficial. They want status, power, money, things, gifts, opportunities, all these different things, versus love, connection, humanity, warmth, connection, whatever, all those things that you might consider what maybe a narcissist is not really interested in at that moment. And so really, when we really like harken back to that and then realize that they're sort of missing the boat in certain respects. And it might feel like, they're making you feel like through projection that you're missing the boat. You have to really look at like, what is my boat right now? Like, little, especially right now in the pandemic, we're going through a massive reset and a massive orientation of what is important. And it's kind of like everything is doing like a triple backflip forward. In other words, all this momentum is just sort of going everywhere and just sort of derailing in a lot of areas. And it's hard for a lot of people to get back on track and sort of reset their new normal, but you have to come back to something really primal within. And that is really, I think, what has been lost. And that is what gets lost in this type of gaslighting experience with a narcissist or a psychopath. You get sort of cut off from that primal experience of just being, something that is more about something really strong and secure and being able to sort of come to that is deeper than all that other stuff. So coming back to the primal to reset that within yourself is realizing that you have to get back to a physical sense of healing to be there and to know that. In other words, the primal is that fire, when you're gazing at a fire, or when you're walking around and you feel a sense of pride of a land or a country or an area. We're talking about something primal. It's something that's long standing and resistive to time and oftentimes change that wants to be brought out. And so if that is sequestered or quenched or sort of undermined, that can create a lot of gaslighting when you're sort of denied that primal aspect. So it becomes really about the existential and really about something connecting that you need, that oftentimes maybe a narcissist who is superficial might want to have the sort of control over these aspects, but you can have control over an aspect of that really truly. Something that is a deep connection, like you feel when you're around a fire or a candle or a candlelight dinner, or these other sort of things. Maybe you hear like bagpipes or something that it just, it calls out into the hills, like something that you go, oh my God, like it just grabs you, But for some other people, they might not have that same experience, that same call, and they might not want to reflect back to you that you enjoy that, or that's like really important and significant and sacred and sort of what your inner flame and heat is all about. So you get sequestered or you get sort of cloistered off, or sort of what people feel like extinguished, or in that sense, in that gaslighted way. So you have to realize that that is not healthy. If someone is requiring you to live and deny a truth. In other words, when somebody lies to you, when they hold up the, page of paper and it's out of ink and you can see it's out of ink and they just tell you that it's broken, and you know better, you know the difference. You don't have to swallow the lie. Like, you will know when you're being lied to, and you don't have to act as if you didn't get the lie, and a lot of people end up being very mistreated. And this is so important for you to understand that part of the healing tools that I work on in the book and discuss in the book that I'm working on is sort of about that recovery and that resensitization, like, and better able to hear that authentic self that's hidden there all the time behind that sensor that gets clogged out through all this other stuff that's, gets, unfortunately, it sweeps away your connection with that in the moment by moment situation, which if you can get a better connection with in those moment by moment moments, you won't feel so removed from that inner fire and that spark, and you won't feel that you're being devoured by something that's out of your control, or you're being misled along the wrong path, and you just keep plodding along as if, hey, this is okay, no, and so, what are some things, we talk about healing, and really, it's coming back to a physical body. Oftentimes it's been thrown very off balance. and being able to be calm in all these other states that oftentimes aren't advertised as super important. If you can just be reactive, this, that, if you can just be, out of control or impulsive, how awesome would that be? And if we were just, so you have to be very careful about the social media situations and that whole, percussiveness, emotional percussiveness that you might need to like timber and tone down, to get some semblance and balance and amicable harmony, like in your life outside of that being gaslighted. So it's like owning your true real. And to come back to that is really important. So, ways to do that is oftentimes you might need to get silent for a while. You might need to shut off the phone for a while, the emails, all that other stuff, the day to day. And you might just need to unplug and go within. And how long it takes is up to you and how long it takes. For some people, they need a day. For other people, they might need several weeks. They might need several months. It might be, but depending on where you're at in your life, it is up to tell. But you might need to interject, those moments of like coming back and really getting back into a more flexible, happy space, especially physically, because that's where all that emotional percussiveness is happening. So you have to tone it down in the physical. It's not thinking it through, it's just feeling it first and feeling it through. So you have to come back and then calm down and come to your own peace and calm, and not try to change what that is for you, and to say it's just like it's okay, and then realizing then that you need and want to feel good and to do what and to help your body along with that, meaning rather than being agitated, calming it down, writing maybe a certain prayer over and over again. Grant me the strength, the serenity prayer. So something like that, just so that sort of gets you back on track or what have you. But beyond that, it's calming the body down and resensitizing. Yes, things like Epsom salt baths where you can really go in, and if a lot of your barrier to feeling good is like muscle cramping, fatigue, aches and pains, feeling in a slump, feeling groggy, then you have to look at that. You have to look at like the Epsom salt baths, customizing it with whatever it is, other oils, like lots of bubbles. Men also, to really soak the body and like really soak the muscles so you can get in alignment. Getting like a foam cushion for you to lean back in, getting candles, getting other sort of scented things, but usually the Epsom salts and then like a scented bubble bath in combo will be good. You can add other things, like some people put different herb, like bath teas. You can get all sorts of these delicacies on like the homemade channels like Etsy.com. They've got all sorts of wonderful like bath salts. You can make your own those. So part of your healing journey might be like, what can I do to physically calm down? So then why don't you learn to make your own Epsom salt baths, or learn to, source some and then make your own custom, or offer these. You can sell these. Doing those things, and candles. Having a candle around is another good way to really calm down and get back to the primal. The primal meaning like where you're really sort of back in your own skin. You're not so thrown off by the rush and the hecticness and the chaos and the change and the uncertainty and the reactivity. People get too caught off in that. So you have to mellow the tone of your presence, and learn tools to do that. So like taking a hot Epsom salt bath, men also with a masculine sense, whatever it's pine, sandalwood, cedar. Maybe you'll find a good cedar based scrub or something of that nature. that is stimulate and vitalizing to your senses. Oh, I've never taken a bath in my life, peace and harmony. Okay, great. Well, at least you can say you did once, and then maybe you'll do it again, especially when you realize that if you stay in it at a good temperature, your body will loosen up. Your muscles will be able to finally relax. If you can't relax them, if they're so tense, then you might need to stay in the bath a little bit longer or the shower, but preferably the bath and with Epsom salts or whatever scented type, and it will help to sort of remove those aches and pains. And you can do that, daily. And you can do other things that will help to, do that with a candle on, several candles on, music on, your favorite beverage, whatever it is, take time to sort of soak away your cares, your worries, and your concerns. And then you can immediately then wrap up in a warm blanket or a super lush robe. If you don't have one, I mean, you can, just sort of bundle up and sort of maybe take a power nap after that, and then allow the heat to sort of just soak into your muscles. And then, you can then take it from there. The other things, we talk about is having, positive things in your environment that aren't all about the superficial, but that are a little bit about the deep and this nostalgic and important for you. Again, like, having maybe will build a fire. Maybe you'll build a fire outside. You'll build a fire ring, or you'll make your own fire gathering area. You'll get out some beautiful rocks or granite or marble or whatever, and you'll put in something that is connected to that primal for you, whatever that is. So for some people, it might be like that, or you might want to build a pond or something, some sort of something in your property. There's all sorts of things you can do that will create that. And oftentimes maybe outdoorsy can also help for the body to relax and get fresh air and just get a change out of the regular, confinement. Get a change of scenery can help that as well. And getting into some different temperatures, I think, is vital. Right. And so if you haven't done that, you can then try it. There's all sorts of things that you can do to and then expand on that. Like you can make decorative candles if you're into candles. There's this one that I get in subscriptions. You can also get subscriptions of things like on Etsy. I definitely recommend recurring subscriptions, like on Etsy, where you can have like monthly either candle scents set to you, or different sage bundles sent to you, or different things that are of that nature that they can have recurring membership. And you can do different candles. Like this is just it's sort of shaped like a amethyst crystal. Things that a lot of people like to decorate with, having sort of very interesting rocks, or rocks that they relate to or resonate with, and not only to decorate, but to have as a sacred rock, sort of a rock for them, if you will. And, there's all sorts of interesting, this is like a really cool sandstone one that I got. I don't know if you can see it, but it's really like sparkly. And so when you walk by, it just sort of catches the light. I got this at a rock store, but you can have these different things, and they are comforting in the hand. Little things like that you can do to get back into more of a primal mode. Looking at what you're cooking with. Are you cooking with a lot of metal, or are you cooking with wood? Are you eating with a lot of metal, or are you eating with wood? Are you using chopsticks? What kind of plateware do you have? Do you have something that is not current, or you have some nice cookware, something that you eat from and use daily? What kind of color is the cookware? Is it of a light background or a dark background? I really do think that of the dark background, oftentimes the mood is more somber when you eat. you can't really see the food. If you have a lighter background to your cookery, you can see the food, and I think it sort of uplifts the experience of eating. Different, you can use different stemware, different glassware. You know, are you using like a beer mug to guzzle your orange juice? I mean, is this, you know, are you using, you know, what are you using? And so looking at those sort of physical automatic habits that are automatic, what are you doing that you can do to sort of, you know, elevate your everyday routine little by little. I think, but little things that you can do will help to bring you back down and incorporating some of these. So, you know, you don't have to take my advice. You can do it for yourself, but things that you can do to help to calm you down and validate your experience and write down, make good notes. You know, I know what I know. Don't second guess yourself because when you start second guessing yourself, then you're just falling into the trap, and that's where you want to stay away from. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. And also, please, your prayers for continued health, for, as we had discussed, that really does make a big difference. Thank you.